Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The truth behind Christine Brown and David Woolley's sudden divorce. Buckle in, because this one hits like a bombshell dropped in the middle of Coyote Pass, mixing whispered secrets, emotional whispers, and the kind of heartbreak that fans never saw coming. The kind that leaves everyone questioning what really goes on behind those smiling Instagram pictures and sweet as sunshine TLC confessionals. Because when Christine Brown and David Woolley shocked the Sister Wives world with news of their sudden, devastating split, viewers froze, stunned, unable to reconcile the fairy tale love story that Christine had so proudly flaunted after breaking free from Cody Brown, with the chilling reality that even dream romances can unravel in the blink of an eye, and the whispers started immediately, rumors swirling like Arizona dust devils. Did fame get in the way? Was it about finances? Was Christine moving too fast, too desperate to prove she'd won after leaving Cody, and did that pressure break something fragile? Because while Christine's glow-up was real, her newfound confidence undeniable, fans noticed subtle clues months ago, tiny cracks in the polished online fantasy, from cryptic captions about self-worth to late-night stories hinting at relearning what love looks like. And then there was David's sudden silence, the once loud, deeply affectionate presence fading into the background like a cameo role quietly written out of a script. No more couple road trip TikToks. No more hand-holding selfies with goofy filters, no more declarations of "my queen," and fans knew. Oh, they felt it deep in their bones. Something had shifted, something massive, and when the divorce announcement finally came, it didn't land soft. It crashed, like the emotional equivalent of a Janelle rage walk out of Coyote Pass meetings. The betrayal Christine hinted at making jaws drop, because the woman who rebuilt herself brick by glittering brick, who taught millions of women to choose themselves, suddenly looked wounded again, heartbroken, blindsided, and insiders whispered she discovered messages, heart-cracking evidence of emotional betrayal, not necessarily physical, but enough to shatter the trust she believed was unbreakable, and suddenly the timeline made sense. Christine's fierce empowerment speeches intensified in the weeks before, her tone shifting from joyful independence to resilient through pain. Her eyes smiling but her energy telling a different story, a story fans didn't fully hear. Until now, one where she tried to hold on, tried to forgive, tried desperately to prove she'd chosen right after decades of living in the shadow of sister wives and competing for crumbs of affection, only to realize that love isn't supposed to hurt, not the second time around. And as Christine's inner circle tightened, sources whispered she leaned heavily on Janelle, who flew out immediately, dropping everything to stand by her lifelong friend, reminding everyone that while men come and go, sisterhood, real sisterhood, is forever. And the contrast between this heartbreak and her escape from Cody couldn't be more dramatic, because Christine left a loveless marriage to build a fairy tale future, not to become the star of a second breakup saga, and fans began connecting dots between David's sudden business troubles, rumors of financial strain, and Christine's new venture announcements, which now seemed like escape routes rather than expansions, her talk of protecting my peace suddenly sounding more like preparing for a storm than celebrating a calm. And then came the tear-filled confessional leaks, the ones hinting that Christine felt history repeating, not in David acting like Cody, but in Christine realizing she rushed into love before fully healing, trying to rewrite her story instead of sitting with the wounds left by spiritual rejection, emotional neglect, and years of feeling insufficient in a broken plural marriage system that demanded constant sacrifice, constant patience, constant self-shrinking. And when she finally spread her wings, maybe she flew so fast toward intimacy that she missed the warning signs, ignored the quiet discomforts, brushed off minor arguments that, in hindsight, were early indicators that she and David weren't aligned on communication, boundaries, and what real emotional safety looks like. And while fans express sympathy, there's also a growing wave of pride. Pride that Christine walked away quickly rather than cling to. Something broken again. Pride that she chose self-respect over public perception. Pride that she didn't let fear of failing, A second marriage trap her in emotional limbo, and now the narrative isn't one of humiliation, but reclamation, because Christine isn't the woman she was when Cody dismissed her needs, when she swallowed pain and smiled through tears, when she told herself love meant endurance instead of reciprocity. No, this Christine is bold, raw, and battle-tempered by heartbreak she refused to be defined by, and while fans mourn the end of the Christine David chapter, they're already rallying behind her next chapter, a phoenix moment, a rebirth part 2, because she built her life once from ashes, she can do it again, and whispers now suggest she's focusing on her daughters, her grandkids, her business, her glow, choosing herself yet again, not because she failed, but because she learned, and David? He's choosing silence, a quiet retreat into privacy that only fuels the speculation. Was he overwhelmed by Christine's fame? Did he feel overshadowed by a woman finally in her power? Or did he simply stumble, make emotional mistakes he couldn't repair? And no matter what truth emerges, one thing stands absolute. Christine Brown refuses to shrink again, refuses to apologize for expecting real love, refuses to stay somewhere trust has been fractured, and fans are watching her with admiration, the same way they once watched her leave the cul-de-sac of misery behind, tears streaming but determination burning brighter than the Arizona sun, ready once more to rise, to grow, to reclaim joy without apology, even if it means walking the road alone. For a while, head high, heart healing, soul steady, and as she wipes the tears and breathes again, the world sees not a woman defeated by love, but a warrior refined by heartbreak, because sometimes the truth behind a sudden divorce isn't scandal or failure, but a woman choosing herself again, fiercely and fearlessly, knowing that even after betrayal, the future is still bright. And Christine Brown? She's not done yet, not even close. And so, as the dust continued to settle around Christine Brown and David Woolley's shocking divorce announcement, the Sister Wives universe found itself in turmoil, with fans picking apart every social post, every subtle body language shift, every old interview clip like forensic analysts trying to understand how a romance that once looked like salvation collapsed so suddenly. And what stands out the most is the tragic irony. How Christine once declared she finally found her forever love. After decades of spiritual marriage anguish, how she believed in second chances and fairy tales, and how the world believed with her, cheering as she danced in wedding gowns and kissed in snow-covered woods, only to now face whispers that maybe she moved too fast, that maybe the trauma of escaping Cody Brown's emotional desert left her craving affection so desperately that she rushed into a storm disguised as sunshine. And you can almost hear the collective heartbreak echoing across fan pages, Reddit threads, Facebook groups full of women who once saw Christine as their symbol of freedom, empowerment, and rebirth, now wondering how someone who seemed to finally win at love could stumble again. But heartbreak is never linear, and healing doesn't wear armor, and Christine, in her raw, real humanity, shows us that even the strongest souls bruise deeply, especially when betrayal sneaks in not with fire and fury, but in hushed late-night messages, quiet emotional detachments, changed tones, missed calls, and a partner who stops showing up in the little moments long before the big explosion. So when Christine reportedly saw those painful messages, the kind that weren't physical cheating but still shattered trust like fragile stained glass, it wasn't just about David. It was about every moment she ever felt ignored, dismissed, unloved in her first marriage, every time Cody made her feel invisible or less than. Every moment she fought for affection only to be handed crumbs. And suddenly, the fairy tale crumbled. The past collided with the present, and the strong woman who rebuilt herself felt that old ache return like a ghost clawing through her chest, reminding her why she swore she'd never tolerate emotional betrayal again. And so, with a trembling heart but steel in her spine, she walked. Again, this time faster, stronger, refusing to drag out pain like she once did in a plural marriage, refusing to negotiate her dignity, refusing to become a version of herself she no longer recognized. And insiders say it wasn't dramatic, wasn't explosive, wasn't messy, just devastatingly sad, a quiet breakdown behind closed doors, Tears with Janelle on speakerphone, late-night journaling, kids gathering around her like a protective force, truly hugging her mom tight like she did when Christine first left Flagstaff. Because this girl has watched her mother rebuild and wasn't about to let her crumble again. And watching Christine's children show up, stand tall beside her, reminds everyone that while some marriages fall apart, family doesn't have to, and maybe the most profound when Christine ever had wasn't romance, but raising daughters who know how to recognize strength in softness, courage in walking away, dignity in demanding love that doesn't hurt. And now, as tabloids explode with theories, ex-husband Cody Brown reportedly sits stunned. Because while he may never admit it publicly, there's a twisted irony in seeing the woman he thought would crumble without him not only flourish but also walk away from a second marriage on her own terms. And there are whispers he feels vindicated, that he believes Christine's divorce proves she was the problem, that maybe she was too needy, too emotional, too impossible for any man, but those close to her call that narrative laughable, pointing out that Christine didn't collapse after David. She rose faster than ever, booking speaking engagements, doubling down on her health journey, diving into creative ventures, leaning into female friendships, the very things Cody once discouraged because a confident Christine was a Christine he couldn't control. And that contrast, that emotional evolution, is why this divorce feels less like failure and more like sharpening. Like Christine isn't breaking, she's being tempered, forged, purified by experience, stepping into a new chapter not as a woman who lost love, but as a woman who refuses to settle for anything less than sacred connection. And now the cameras are rolling again, producers circling like eagles sensing the biggest Sister Wives storyline since the family imploded, execs whispering this divorce could become the emotional spine of an entire season, because Christine has always been the heart of the show, and heartbreak, real heartbreak, glues audiences to screens. And while viewers are eager for raw confessions, tearful car cam monologues, and tense kitchen table conversations, insiders claim Christine insisted on heel before film time, not wanting to exploit her pain but also not wanting to hide it, knowing her journey is bigger than gossip. It's a roadmap for millions of women learning to love again after leaving emotional captivity. And as she steps into this next era, fans speculate wildly. Will she stay single for a long time and find peace and independence? Will she eventually entertain love again, slowly, with caution and gentle boundaries? Or, and this rumor is growing fast, will she shock everyone by choosing a life of deep self-partnership, traveling, building businesses, and becoming a motivational force for midlife empowerment? One thing is certain. Christine is no longer the timid wife who once cried in a confessional chair about wanting to feel chosen. She is not the woman who begged a man to love her. She is a woman who chooses herself, fiercely, unapologetically, and while David quietly retreats from the spotlight, his absence is its own confession, his silence a kind of surrender, letting the narrative lean Christine's way. Because in the court of public opinion, the woman rising from heartbreak always wins the crown, and as Christine wipes her tears and steps back into the sunlight, there's a subtle rebirth happening, softer maybe than the glitter-filled glow-up after leaving Cody, but deeper, richer, truer, a rebirth without trying to prove anything to anyone, and fans feel it like a pulse, this sense that Christine's story isn't over, it's transforming, evolving, stretching into something powerful and profound. A reminder that freedom isn't something you get once, it's something you defend again and again, breath by breath, heartbreak by heartbreak, until peace becomes muscle memory, not a destination but a lifestyle. And Christine Brown, with all her laughter, tears, courage, and vulnerability, is walking that path boldly, a warrior in soft sweaters and mascara smudges, teaching us all that even the most beautiful fairy tales can end, but queens don't fall. They rise, they recalibrate, they reclaim, they rebuild. And if the Sister Wives world thought Christine's first transformation was powerful, they haven't seen anything yet, because this chapter isn't about escaping someone. It's about becoming someone, the kind of woman who doesn't just survive heartbreak, but turns it into the fuel that lights her next evolution. And as the world watches, breath held, hearts aching for her but cheering louder than ever, one truth rings louder than any betrayal. Christine Brown will always come out stronger, because she is not defined by who loves her, but by how fiercely she loves herself.